Hello and welcome back to Making Video Your Business. Chris is busy training today and Matt has the flu, so I am their AI generated replacement, Nick. And I'm lucky enough today to be joined by Mitch Handley, who is marketing manager at Inventory Hive. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome,
Glad
Mitch.
to be here.
Inventory, why don't we start there? Just tell us a little bit about Inventory Hive as a company and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so Inventory Hive is a cloud-based property inspection platform that predominantly works with letting agents all around the country, as well as independent inventory clerks, student accommodation, property managers, build to rent, etc. So they'll typically use our app on our phone or tablet device and on the desktop as well to create all of their property inspection reports. It's probably not the most easiest task to do for a property manager or letting agent. So hopefully we've built something which makes it more streamlined and easier for them to do, really. So yeah, that's what Inventory Hive does in a nutshell without overselling.
Brilliant. Yeah. And it's part of a group of companies that we experience a lot doing a bunch of stuff with property. And that's the same in any industry anyway. It's a problem that you've identified and come up with a solution to. And it's a problem that I think a lot of people will probably be going, oh yeah, that is annoying.
It's one of the things where obviously everyone's got to do a property inventory. It's not by law unless you're in Scotland, but it still needs doing as a good practice, and it can be a bit of a pain in the backside to do. And it's funny how Inventory Hive was born, really, because Rich, our founder and CEO, he was a tenant himself in a property, and when he moved into a property, he basically signed a check-in inventory report on the back of a cigarette packet. So, and then when the checkout happened and he moved out, he got stung with quite a few deductions, and it was a bad experience for him. So he thought, surely there's got to be a better way to do this, and that's why we're here today. So, but yeah, it's like we often get agents get in touch with us wondering how they can make the processes better, and that's where Inventory Hive hopefully slots in. But like I said, it's not the sexiest job in the world to do, but it has to be done, and we've got something easy to help you do that. So
yeah, well, as you rightly say, people do it, but they do it badly. It's one of those jobs that gets done as sort of busy work, and no one really sees the importance of it until it's suddenly life-changingly important, because being slammed by a sort of surprise bill of hundreds of pounds isn't generally something that most people can afford, and it's not going to eliminate that happening, but it's going to stop possibly the confusion, like everything's clear. And because I've seen this app, because we came and did some video with you, and it's it's all laid out and it's accountable and it's auditable and kind of how it needs to be.
The best way I can describe it is almost like, we was talking about this earlier about cars breaking down and stuff, and you get car insurance, but it's something you've got to use or pay for every year, and you think, oh, nothing's ever going to happen. But when it does happen, you need that insurance, or you need that checking inventory report that you need. So that's the best way I could pull it. It's almost like,
I think this is the thing of like one of the symptoms as you get older in life, and especially have more responsibilities like kids, and people are always kind of trying to stress you out about like your house insurance. I'll make sure you put it in properly, because because you like these things that I don't care about that radiator, but it's the time when your house gets struck by lightning and it's destroyed, typical. And then they're like, oh, because you didn't fill this in right, this doesn't
typically it happened to you.
So you've been on board about 4 years. So it was still a early part of the curve when you came in, I suppose. Like, what was it? What's that journey been like from between then? Now?
I saw the role online with Inventory Hive it was like a customer relationship manager. So my background in work was, I used to work in hotels, so I was always dealing a lot of face to face with customers at quite a well established hotel in Derby, and then I just enjoyed that face to face interaction. So when I saw the customer relationship role at Inventory Hive, I thought, you know what, let's have a look. So I applied for the role, and to be honest, I had zero experience in property, landlords, tenancy, letting agency, nothing like that. I'm not even very techie. And on the interview with Rich, he just says, look, you don't need to be techie. It's just about who you are, really. So I got the role because obviously I'm a nice person. And then I couldn't explain how easy it is to learn about the company. We used to share offices with a few other companies as well, and there was about 3 or 4 of us on the team, from support to people doing demos to Rich. There's about 3 or 4 of us, but it's kind of like the growth is kind of you only notice it from the members of staff, like, because when we onboard clients, it's not a case of we would invest the time holding the hand, getting them using it correctly, but then it's kind of they kind of know what they're doing from there going forwards, if that makes sense. So it's quite easy to manage going forwards as long as they're using it correctly. It's just a case of making sure they're using it correctly from the very start.
Symmetrical with the product itself in a way is all about getting things set up correctly, and once they're off and running. And that's something that we'll come back to that, because we made some some cool video to help with that process.
Yes.
So just the part of interest now, obviously you came in as customer relations.
Yeah.
So that sort of account manager, which people will sort of know what that means.
Yes.
You're dealing with kind of new customers coming in, but your title's obviously marketing manager. You know, it's distinct from certainly from sales and from kind of client liaison and stuff like that. So what is that something you had to, was that like a conscious change, or was that you arrived and it was that, or is that something you had to learn?
So I came in as customer relationship manager, but then a couple of years down the line, obviously was expanding, and Rich needed someone to look after the marketing side of things. So initially it was kind of a 50-50 split, so half marketing, half customer relationships, still doing demos, etc. The reason I kind of looked after that is because I did media production at university, and I kind of knew about media and social media and creating content, etc. So it almost like the marketing role just took over. Like all of a sudden there was exhibitions and events to plan for, there was content and training videos to do, which obviously we've done with you guys. There's support articles, there's the social media channels, which I'm a big advocate of, because when we first started, like, we had social media channels, but no one was managing them and getting the followers up. So for example, on our LinkedIn page, when I took over, there was around 600 followers, but now there's 4,500, and that's just all down to pushing content out. And I think that's really important, because doing these exhibitions that we've done, like with Property Mark or with Letting Agent Today, like, a lot of people say, I've seen you on social media, and that's really good to hear, because you don't know how your social media is performing until people come up to you and tell you, oh, I've seen you on social media. Like, it's difficult to track specific leads, like, because I love pushing content out, but they might not necessarily pick up on that until a few months down the line. Like, it's difficult to see. Obviously you can see who's looking at your social media pages, etc. But whether that trial or that sale has come through specifically, you can't really find out until later on down the line. So I'm a big advocate of pushing out on social media, definitely.
Yeah, it's that thing about it is hard to measure, especially on social media. Or as more new, and new and interesting, imaginative styles of kind of getting your message out there. And you might put, and we sort of find this when we make a video, for example, people put a video out, and actually less so now, like probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, you put a video on YouTube and then you sort of sit and look at the views. It's like, oh, it got 40 views, great. It got, 1 million views or whatever, and then you could sort of measure the success from that. But then like, because that thing, when someone comes up to you, someone with this podcast actually came up to us at an event the other day, and we were just talking about it, and they were like, oh yeah, I've seen like all the episodes of that, and we're like, oh wow, someone watches it. Amazing.
What we find is that with our product, people need to see it, like how they would use it in the property. Obviously, like the videos we've done with you guys, like a lot of the content we push out is either informative content like user guides or best practice guides in the industry, or how the software actually looks in under a minute. Like, for example, how to use the voice dictation on the app. So we always push like content like that through on their socials, because property managers who see that will probably think, gosh, how easy is that? Like, they just know straight away. Like, we're not afraid of showing what our product looks like. Like, you go on other websites and you kind of know what to do, but you have no idea what the front end looks like when you're actually using it.
It's a test drive in a way,
Yeah.
and actually seeing, or you know,
Yeah.
people are so used to seeing it now because obviously from a third party point of view, whether it's computer software, whether it's cars or whatever, there's someone's made a video showing it,
Yes,
showing every element of how it works, and that's what we go to now. If you want to learn
It's-
something, you want to understand what something looks like, you want to see it from unboxings to all these other things.
Yeah.
You want to see the thing, don't you?
I was looking at purchasing a new telly, and I was like, right, I'll just go on YouTube, see what it's like, because you want to see like what it's like being used, not just from the outside looking in, if that makes sense. You kind of want to see it as if you was that person using it.
Which is it's just a twist on marketing, because obviously, like Mad Men generation, like it's about making something almost look like what it isn't, you know, or making, you know, the feeling or whatever.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity then to present something how you wanted to. So if it's a product or a holiday destination or whatever, you can show them what you want to show them, because that's all they're going to see. From a marketing point of view, you've got to say, well, I've got no choice but to show everyone this whole thing.
It's all about being transparent. Like, we're quite transparent with the pricing on our website as well. Like, it's just there, that's the pricing. There's no hidden costs or anything. And it's like, you can't, if you're hiding that kind of stuff on your website or that kind of content, then
nothing makes people more mad, does
it? It's like, they'll be so frustrated. Like, they'll sign up for a trial, try it out, and it's obviously not for them, and you've wasted their time, but our time as well, because they've got 5 minutes in and it's not for them for whatever reason. Whereas if we're as transparent as possible from the start, then they're engaged from the very start and they're almost committed to it going forwards. So that's the way we kind of see it as well from a marketing perspective. So
the work that we did for you previously was these sort of instructional videos showing you how to, you know, the process, and we came and we sort of shot that professionally. But prior to that, you had already had that content that you sort of shot yourself, which was fine and was working. And then I suppose that you've evolved to a situation where you're like, actually, when we do present this to people, we want to sort of show it at a certain level that shows giving people useful information. In whatever way you can. It doesn't sort of damage the brand. And maybe, and obviously COVID is part of that conversation, because now you suddenly had big brands doing stuff on Zoom and stuff. So it's not, people don't mind seeing it. People don't mind seeing video that's a bit clunky, and especially if it's useful information to them. Which is obviously the other thing, is that the video that you quite often make is, on the face of it, we're just giving you this just like a printed leaflet, but it's still marketing, because you're still putting your thing out there, and it's still it's marketing that's actually useful to the person who's watching it, or reading it, or seeing it.
It's almost trying to put like them in that position, in like physically using that product at the property almost. Like, a lot of the videos we used to do, or still do as well, is we use Loom. So it's like a screen recording of our desktop and just me talking over. But we don't just use that for training videos. We sometimes do that to responses to emails, or like support queries. Like, sometimes someone would email in saying, I've got a support query, and rather than typing out a really long email or response back, sometimes a 1-minute video saying, hi Joe Blogs, just so you know, you just click here, and there you go, it's done. That's how you do it. And then that's just more engaging, it's more personal as well, rather than a templated response as such. So
it's also more convincing, isn't it? Because it's believable, because you're showing them. And it's not that anyone was like, you're a liar, but like but actually the times I've been told something, or by the personally or commercially, and even though I know it's not made up, it's not a lie. But until I see it, I'm still like, well, that doesn't sound right. And then you do it, and you're like, oh, okay, now that makes. And sometimes you sort of mistake how, if something's been written to you, you can't make sense of what they're saying to you. But if
it won't be long until there'll be no like assembly instructions in furniture. It'll just be a QR code with a video
Yeah.
saying this is how you assemble it. Like, that's what people.
Well, I bet there's many people in the world who buy a Kallax thing from IKEA or whatever, and they don't even they don't even open the instructions. They go straight to YouTube. Because I'm sure
exactly.
There's a geezer on there putting it together step by step.
Yeah.
It's just like I used to have a Haynes manual for my old car. I used to love those things. You go through it all, but haven't bought one for many few years because it just goes straight to YouTube.
Yeah.
You appear on your video content quite a lot. Like, did you ever? How did that? Have you had to sort of learn that as a skill? Were you worried about it?
I do quite a lot of webinars, and I find the webinars on my own a bit more challenging because it's me on my own talking to 150 people, for example, where if there's 2 or 3 of us, then we can almost share the love, or almost back up what I'm saying, or I could back up what they're saying. So sometimes, rather than all the focus being on myself, I try and divert that focus onto what I'm talking about or the product. So although I'm kind of the face of things for Inventory Hive, I try and always pretend like, hopefully they just ignore my face and just listen to what I'm saying. I try and encourage Rich to do quite a bit of content as well, because obviously the founder and CEO, and obviously everyone knows who he is. Whereas if I went down, obviously I'm the marketing manager, but I know quite a few people, but he knows more, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm trying to encourage more. Come on, Rich, we need some more content from you. So yeah.
He's interesting because he's not from a tech background either, is he, Rich?
No,
like he's not.
He was a teacher, so
right.
Obviously that bad experience he had, he was like, right, I need to find a better solution. And then I think he got a little bit of investment, and then slowly built it, and it just snowballed from there, really. He asked for a lot of advice while building the product as well. So obviously Angie Cooney from C Residential helped with a lot of advice and tweets to the product, and she's good friends with Richard. Obviously we've got a great working relationship with the tenancy deposit scheme as well, so we speak to them on best practices and how to encourage property managers, inventory clerks, agents on how to best create the reports as quickly as possible. So we engage with them a lot as well. But yeah, it's just like keeping your ear to the ground and finding out what's next on what to develop, really. I'm a big fan of like integrations as well. Like I feel like to get the next boatload of customers is keep plugging those integrations, because if you advertise that you work with X, Y, and Z, then you're tapping into their customer base already.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to
it's an interesting parallel with video, isn't it? Because when you make a video on any or social media in general, if you stand next to someone, you get involved in their channels and reach their audiences.
Yeah.
And much the same with just those integrations. Like you can, if you're plugging into like say Fixflow or something, they already have a bunch of people, so it works for both of you. Like you've got some people you can bring to them, and they've got some people
that. And I feel like
to you.
Integrations is underrated, really, for getting customers on board and from a marketing perspective, because it just removes that manual aspect. But also, if you've got in someone's head, like sometimes people ring us up and the first question they'll say is, do you integrate with Fixflow? And it's like, if we say yes, they're like, right, we're committed. Or like, you've won half the battle.
Yeah.
So
it's very difficult to frame that. If the answer's no, it's difficult to
it's difficult
spin that positively. It's like, oh, we might be soon or something. Yeah. Like it's just nice when it's a yes. And for that industry, like all industries, like there's so many apps and options of technology now, like being able to pare that down so that things work together is massively appealing for the audience, I suppose, as well, isn't it? We talked about AI quite a bit recently. Is it something you guys do you use it in your?
Within a company, we try and avoid using AI on a day-to-day basis, for a couple of reasons, really. One, personally, I'm still a bit skeptical of how accurate it is, because people have said to us, well, can't you do an inventory using AI? And you can, but it can just open. You might be taking one step forward, but 2 steps back further on down the line. So, and it goes back to the point you could be creating an inventory on the back of a cigarette packet because the content in that inventory report might have been created by AI, but it's not accurate, it's not up to date. Like, so I personally, I'm still a bit skeptical on how accurate it is, and that's why it's just trying to get more confident using it. Like, personally, that when doing an inventory, and it's how important that document is, you've got to make sure it's accurate, up to date, using the correct photos, everything's dated.
So there's that accountability
exactly
factor, isn't there? Because obviously what your product does do, is it sort of auto, because doesn't it? Because you go, I live in a 2-bedroom house, whatever, furnished or something, and it will go blah, 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 and it'll give you all the stuff. But then presumably then someone, a human being at your offices or whatever, has sat and actually come up with those finite scenarios.
So we've already provided a lot of the templates, which kind of solves half of the AI problem anyway, because AI would populate those descriptions in anyway. But if we've already provided the templates, and it's kind of already there.
There's the idea of the procedural gate, isn't there, which is versus one that's been designed. So one where you've built all the levels, and you've said this is the level, or the one where you walk in and it's a computer's inventing it as you go, based on instructions, which isn't quite AI, but I suppose that would be with all your lists and things are made. Someone has curated them and said, this is what we think this kind of house would have.
So we provide the template, so it kind of speeds up the property reporting time. So although AI can populate those in, it's just a case of you still need to go around and like how say if you took a photo of a room, a 360 photo, like AI might be able to pick up all of the fixtures and fittings like lights and sockets and radiators, but it wouldn't pick up, say, a scratch on a wall, because one, the camera quality's got to be good, and you almost relying on, like, I don't know.
I suppose then you've got that balance then, haven't you? Because if you make things too automated, like they want to be automated enough that it's not a massive faff and people, aren't miserable. But if it's too automated, then there's a tendency to not look. And you do at some point need to actually be accountable for what you're putting down, I guess. Which is like generally in AI, where we are with its sort of that journalistic thing, and it can do writing for you and it can create images and stuff for you now, but you do need to make sure that there is still incentive to check what you're
and it's something it can easily make people get a bit lazy as well. Like some letting agents might be paying an inventory clerk £100 to do an inventory, but if they used AI and do it in 2 minutes and still charge £100, I don't know how I'd feel about that personally. Like, are you getting your value for money? So
from the video point of view, and I suppose marketing in general, from your seats, what do you see, like what's coming, changes, and think what direction are we going? And
I think the key thing is that, obviously I've touched upon this, is one of my bugbears is the lack of transparency across the industry, potentially, about how honest or what they're actually selling. Like, obviously you go on a website, click on features, it will list the headline stuff, but not absolutely everything. I feel like going forward, you'll see a lot more transparency by a lot of people in the industry about how the product works, how easy it is to use, and how to sell it. There's obviously, I think as well, there's a lot of noise going off about the renters reform bill and legislation, etc. And I feel like that'd be important going forward as well. So I think from marketing content, really, going forward, I can't see a massive change. I think AI's kind of like embedded itself in from a marketing perspective. People are either going to use it or not.
AI and Photoshop and fake news and all those sort of, like, I feel like there's an overriding feeling at the moment that we're all having the wool pulled over our eyes all the time. But what's interesting is that despite that fact, like from a marketer's point of view, you effectively have to be more honest now with what you're saying to people, because actually there is, there's reviews, there's videos showing how things work, and there's all that sort of stuff. So the idea for marketing is actually to get on top of it and be more more honest. So despite the fact there's now elaborate and kind of fancy ways, and you could probably create an animation on AI faking all your stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah,
but you would be found out pretty quickly if you were to do that, wouldn't you? Whereas
the first I heard of AI was when I was watching a BBC drama. Someone was talking on camera. I think it was the Prime Minister or something, and then AI, they called it a deep fake or something, twisted all his words. So, and I was like, does that actually happen? Then obviously 3 months down the line, it's everywhere now, AI. And it's scary to think how believable is all the content that you'll see, not just on social media. It's like I see stuff on like my Instagram reels of, because I'm a keen golfer, like someone hitting a golf shot, and it's like, is that real or is that fake? Like it makes you question how believable a lot of stuff is. So yeah.
Which I suppose the healthy part of that is like, do question it.
Yeah.
If it's making you question things, then probably that's actually the correct response. To question it, because check it and verify it. And and if people want to go to absolute town to fool you, they can.
Yeah.
If I put a picture of a load of people throwing bricks, because I actually saw this done around the time, this is all going to get cut, and say, oh look, there's riots in Belfast or something, and probably half the internet would believe me. I wouldn't have done anything. I'd have just got, and it'll be, despite the fact that people were wearing, American flags on their hats or something, and it's clearly taken from Cleveland, Ohio, 15 years ago or something. Like, you don't have to be that convincing for people to believe you, actually. That's not necessarily the problem. Like, the problem is people not questioning in a way, and that's how kind of people get fooled.
Do you remember that who was that magician who predicted all the lottery numbers? The lottery was live,
right?
And he like wrote down all the numbers, and they all came out.
And they were all right.
Yeah, and it makes you think.
It's like a Darren Brown thing. Or something like
it was
that.
Darren Brown. That was it. Yeah. So it makes you think, how fake was that? Like, and that was 10 years ago.
Well, I mean, magicians are a great example, aren't they? Because there's a trick.
Yeah.
And then you sort of spend your whole time trying to work out what the trick is, and then if you sort of, if it gets out or whatever, and you're like, you're a phony. It's like, no, that you knew he was a trick. No, he's not actually magic.
Yeah.
But we're quite happy to kind of go along with the feeling that there's a 0.1% chance that maybe he is really magic. But there's a trick there.
Yeah.
And that's the whole sort of art form of it, isn't
it?
And I suppose with marketing as well, like, it's your job to put your product forward in the best light.
Yeah. I think with marketing as well, it's like, people hate you being too salesy as well. Like, you just want to show a solution. You don't want to say, like, we use a lot of solace emails with letting agent today, and they're like, it doesn't drive me mad, but I'll delete the email straight away if I see one come through saying book a demo or whatever, where we try and push the content out saying, here's a free guide. So you're giving something out and it gets your branding out there, but then you might subconsciously get them on a demo or trial later on down the line. Like,
there's a little bit more
people don't
patience.
Like at the Property Mark regional conferences, like Jason Lee goes on stage. I don't know if you know Jason Lee. And he says,
lives in Grantham.
Yeah. And he always says, right, suppliers are going to come on stage now to talk to you for 30 seconds. At the end of the day, they are here to sell you something. But I don't really see it like that. I see it's more, we're trying to help you and provide a solution. Not, I hate the word sale, if that makes sense. So I hate.
People don't want to be sold to. That's a fact, isn't it? And I mean, I've seen a lot of those presentations from different groups and stuff when we do events, and the best ones are that you can forget that they are here, and you know that they're here with a product and everything else, and you can be aware of that, but you still can find it interesting and useful what they're saying. Well, in my opinion, the best way from a marketing point of view to do that is to not make people feel at any point like they're under pressure. They've got to do your thing, or that's it. All you can do is,
whenever we do demos, it's like, we kind of tell them, just reach out if you want any help. We don't bombard them every day. The best way I pull it is, if my girlfriend tells me to do a job around the house, I'll say, the more you ask me to do it, the more I'll delay it. So yeah, the more I won't do it. Yeah.
How does that go down out of interest?
Not very well.
Yeah. She's like, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'll do it when I'm
Do
ready.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think putting people under pressure is not a good way to go either. It's kind of, you kind of take in their needs and then just go with that, really,
and give them the the freedom to decide. It's the correct attitude, isn't it? I suppose that it's that salesy thing, is that fear of losing that one person or that one room of people you're talking to.
Yeah.
No one will sign up, but if you can get over that fear, then you can do things probably better.
Perfect.
Mitch, thank you for
no problem
talking
I've
to
enjoyed
us today.
It.
No, it's been great to hear from you and to see you again.
Yes.
And how do you sign off? Bye.
Yeah.